Hello, how you doing? I'm just on my way to the library. Do you want to come with me? I have the most enormous pile of books to take back. Look at this giant bag. So I have this enormous pile of books to take back, and I have an equally enormous pile waiting for me at the other end. So before I do anything else today, I'm gonna head out and get that done. So, let's go to the library, come on. Hey, we're back from the library, back in the snuggly living room, and I thought I would go through the books that I picked up and show you what I got. It's been a rough couple of weeks. There's been a lot going on. I'm kind of knackered. So I have gone heavier on the fiction this time than usual, and also heavier on the comfort reads. Usually I have sort of like a 50-50 of fiction, non-fiction, but this time I just want someone to tell me a story, basically, and I want to be wrapped up in cozy comfort and just have a lovely time. So the first one that I've gone for is Rouge by Mona Awad. She wrote a book that has been all over the place called Bunny. And usually when it comes to these kind of books, I don't believe the hype. It's usually a book that isn't for me. But I heard such good things about Bunny, and I ended up, I got it at the library, read it, absolutely loved it. Then Lars read it and he absolutely loved it. And this one, I think she wrote it after Bunny, but it is supposed to be the best thing that she's ever written. So I'm really excited to get my teeth into this one. It looks foul. I don't know anything about it. I think it's got something to do with a makeup thing. One thing I both like and dislike about getting books out from the library is that often they're hardbacks, and that means you don't get any information like on the back cover or anything. So often when I get books out from the library, I've just completely forgotten why I've got them out, and then I have to look them up. Okay, next up we have, leaning hard into the comfort reading, we have two books by Marian Keyes. So I read all of Marian Keyes' books about 20 years ago, which is horrifying to think about how long it is since I read those. And the one that I loved the most was called Rachel's Holiday, which, if you don't know her, is a story about a woman who's struggling with addiction, which sounds harrowing and kind of is, but also Marian Keyes writes with such warmth and humour that she manages to sort of shoehorn really complicated, dark topics into these really lovely, comforting books. I don't really know how she does it. But this one is a sequel to Rachel's Holiday. It's called Again, Rachel, and it picks up the story with Rachel 20 years after the first book, which I think is quite fun. I always love when authors kind of go back and revisit old characters, because as an autistic person, I struggle with meeting new people, even if they're fictional. So it's nice to kind of go back and revisit characters that I know and love. And I'm quite a big rereader as well, so for that reason, I'll go back and kind of revisit friends that I've made in books and just kind of check up on them, even though I know what the story is. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then another one of hers that I haven't read, which is The Break. And I know nothing about it other than it's Marian Keyes and I trust her. So we'll see how we get on with that. Another comfort read is this one, Madame Burova by Ruth Hogan. I read The Keeper of Lost Things, which I think was her first novel, and I really enjoyed it. There was a character in there that I really loved, and who said a phrase, "It's time for the lovely cup of tea," that sort of crept into our sort of family vernacular. So much so that I even titled a painting. One of my Je suis wibbly wobbly paintings is called "It's time for the lovely cup of tea." So I picked this one up. It's about a fortune teller with a secret. So, I mean, I always love anything with a sort of circus-y carnival vibe. So let's see how that one turns out. Okay, then we have some sci-fi. This is The Book of Joan by Lydia Yuknovitch. I saw her TED Talk about 10 years ago probably, and I really loved it. And it was called, I can't remember what it was called, something about Misfits. And there was a book that came out on the back of that called the Misfits Manifesto, which I have and I really love. She's a really interesting writer. She was homeless. I believe she was an alcoholic, although don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure on that. But she was definitely homeless, and she basically wrote her way out of that situation, and her story is really inspiring. And I've never read any of her novels, and so I'm giving this one a go. It says on the inside cover, The Book of Joan is an explosive work of fiction that considers what it means to be human, the fluidity of sex and gender, and the urgency of art as a means for survival. So that sounds right up my street. So yeah, looking forward to reading that one. Then we have the first of the non-fiction. I think I only got 2 non-fiction in this haul, and this is Poor Artists by Zarina Mohammed and Gabriella de la Puente. And my friends Orla, if you know anything about sort of art YouTube, you'll know Orla. She's Orla Stevens. She has an amazing YouTube channel. Her artwork is amazing, and she recommended to me the blog that these girls run, which is called The White Pube, which is sort of very like anti-establishment art talk. And they've written this book, which is, let me just storygraph it so I can tell you exactly what it is, because I think you might like it. It says, Poor Artists follows aspiring artist Quest Talukdar as she embarks on a surreal journey into the creative industry, where she must decide whether she cares more about success or staying true to herself. Featuring dialogue from anonymous interviews with real people who have all had to ask themselves the same question, including a Turner Prize winner or 2, a recluse, a Venice Biennale fraudster, a communist messiah, a ghost, and a literal knight. The White Pube tell the story of art like never before. Which just sounds like super intriguing. Like, I'm really interested in this. The art world is a wild place, and there are so many artists like myself who have sort of like rejected that whole idea of it's not a rejection of the commodification of art, but it is a rejection of the sort of the elitism and the moneyedness of it. And I think this is going to be a really interesting sort of look at doing things differently and, you know, getting your art out there and connecting directly with the people that you want to connect with. So very interested to see how that one turns out. Then the last of the fiction books is The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin. This has been on my to-be-read list for so long, I've completely forgotten what it is. I just got sick of seeing the title on there all the time, so I was like, okay, well, it's time to read this. Let's have a look on Storygraph and see what it actually is. Ooh! It's 1969 in New York City's Lower East Side, and word has spread of the arrival of a mystical woman, a travelling psychic who claims to be able to tell anyone the day they will die. The Gold Children, 4 adolescents on the cusp of self-awareness, sneak out to hear their fortunes. The prophecies inform their next 5 decades. Golden boy Simon escapes to the West Coast searching for love in 80s San Francisco. Dreamy Clara becomes a Las Vegas magician obsessed with blurring reality and fantasy. Eldest son Daniel seeks security as an army doctor post 9/11, and bookish Varia throws herself into longevity research, where she tests the boundary between science and immortality. Okay, so I can see why I wanted to read it. Again, any sort of like magical realism, anything to do with carnies and fortune tellers and circuses, anything like that is always a big yes for me. So looking forward to reading that one as well. And then finally, just holding this book actually made me cry. I got super emotional when I found this and picked it up. It's called Revenge of the She-Punks, A Feminist Music History from Polystyrene to Pussy Riot by a musician and journalist called Vivien Goldman. And rather than being a sort of chronology of punk without men, she covers 4 pillars, which is identity, money, love, and protest, and talks about the artist in that context. And it's not just kind of UK or US centric. She's got punk artists from all over the world in here. And the thing that I'm most excited about is there are playlists with each chapter. So you can read the book and then listen to the playlist, and that is, I just love that. More music books should do that. So if you're new here and you don't know this about me, I was sort of saved by musical subcultures when I was a very awkward, undiagnosed, weird teen. And punk and goth and grunge really sort of were the only places where I felt like I really belonged, like where being weird and theatrical and, you know, angry and sad, like it was all part of the thing. You weren't judged for being who you were. And again, like with art history, which I'll talk about in a bit, music, we really only ever heard about the men. Like we didn't have the internet back late 80s, early 90s. It was all just kind of word of mouth. And I knew that there were female punk bands around, and I mean, I was very much into Hole and L7 and some of the American bands because they were the ones getting the most sort of airtime. But there's this whole like cohorts of lady punk which I just don't know enough about, and I'm so excited to dive in and educate myself a bit more about something that means so much to me as a genre, as a culture, as a means of connection. So yeah, this is the one I'm most excited about, and I'm so excited about it I can feel myself not wanting to read it in case it's bad. But yeah, we'll see. I think this is going to be the absolute standout star of this particular haul. So that's it. We've got 2 non-fiction and then 6 fiction. So that will keep me going for the week and hopefully comfort me, educate me, entertain me. And I hope that if any of those have sparked your interest, then yeah, go to your library, go to your local library and pick them up, and let me know in the comments if you've read any of them or what you think, or if you want to hear my thoughts kind of after I've read them as well. But now I really have to go and get on with some work, and the work I'm doing today is actually on a book of my own. Having a very bookish, arty day today. So let's head back to the studio and I'll tell you what I'm working on. I'm working on a book for one of my collections. It's the Flourishing collection, which I've spoken about in some previous vlogs. And it's a collection which is based on my experience of leaving an abusive relationship and coming to Copenhagen and finding myself again and going through this incredible sort of second adolescence and finding joy and love and triumphing over adversity. And I produced a series of paintings which are all hot, vibrant, glittery, colourful explosions of flowers, which each corresponds to a significant moment, significant location in Copenhagen. And to tell the story of this particular painting collection, I created a treasure hunt with clues and with sort of found objects, and took my newsletter audience through this kind of detective story treasure hunt adventure, which was absolutely amazing. It was a collaboration with my husband, who's an incredible photographer, and it was just an absolute joy to create more art to tell the story of some of my art. And I'm putting all of it together, the paintings and the story and the treasure hunt and the incredible photography, and putting it all together in a book, which will be available on my website. And just really enjoying the process of sort of designing it and putting these different elements together and layering it and making something that's, again, a third piece of art in this sort of flourishing universe. Tonight, I'm so excited about what we're doing tonight. We're going to the Louisiana Museum, art gallery, art museum, because Katy Hessel, who is the author of The Story of Art Without Men and also the host of the Great Women Artists podcast, is coming to do a talk, which is fantastic. Like, I never get to see the people that I love coming to Copenhagen. Everyone always skips Copenhagen. So this is super, super exciting. And there is also an exhibition on that I'm really looking forward to seeing by an artist called Marisol, who was a female artist who was a contemporary of Andy Warhol and was actually more famous than him at the time, though you wouldn't know it now. Everyone and their mum has heard of Andy Warhol, and I don't know if many people have heard of Marisol. And she was a completely different, their approaches were completely antithetical. Obviously Warhol was very much into sort of mass production and image and having kind of lots of assistants, lot of repeatable processes, whereas Marisol was very much about handcrafting all of her pieces. They're all made by her. They're all kind of slow and lots of natural materials, lots of natural elements. It's very interesting to sort of contrast the two. And I've never seen any of her work in person, and they have this exhibition that just happens to coincide with the talk. So it's going to be a fantastic evening, and obviously we're going to take you along for the ride as well. But we are in the bedroom because I'm going to show you what I'm wearing to go for this fabulous evening out. So let's have a look. Down at the bottom here, these biker boots. You're going to be seeing a lot of these in my outfits. They're just super comfy, super cool. I love what they do to every single outfit. And then we've got some hot pink leggings. And then this jumper, which is about 4 sizes too big for me now, but I don't care because it's possibly the coolest thing I own. It's by Noel Fielding, who you probably know from the Great British Bake Off, and he did a very niche show called The Mighty Boosh back in the day, and he's also an artist, and he did this jumper in collaboration with an Australian brand called Wawa, and I just fucking love it. I think it's so cool. Obviously it's a portrait of David Bowie. Yeah, and I love it. It doesn't fit me, but I don't care. And then the only jewellery I'm wearing are these neon pink acrylic hoops. And that's it. That's the look for a lecture and an exhibition visit. So let me tell you a little bit more about why Katy Hessel's work means so much to me. About 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was like 2022, there was a spate in Copenhagen, but also all over the world, of galleries finally showing female artists. It was suddenly getting a lot of attention that galleries were not showing as many female artists as they should. And everybody sort of rushed to redress the balance, which meant that for about 18 months to 2 years, we got to see some of the most incredible female artists. We saw Suzanne Valadon, who's one of my absolute favourites. We saw Sonia Delauney, Lee Lozano, Chantal Joffe, Dorothy Iannone, Dana Schutz. There were so many, and it was incredible to see all this amazing art. But it was also one of the periods in my life where I have felt the most connected to art. I actually studied art history. I actually have a degree in art history, and we weren't taught about hardly any female artists at all. And most of my life since graduating has been working to redress the balance. And Katy Hessel and her work have been enormously influential and helpful and valuable in helping me to do that. So her podcast is amazing. If you don't know it, then go and binge listen. Her book is amazing. Let me get it down off the shelf here for you. It's under a pile of stuff, including these incredible sunglasses from the Zuzu shoot, but that's not why we're here. This is her book, The Story of Art Without Men, and you can see it's chock full of post-it notes. It's just one of Oh, it's just obviously written by someone who is incredibly passionate and enthusiastic about their subject. And it has been so helpful in filling the gaps that my studies left open. Seeing yourself represented in the thing that you want to do, like seeing women artists being shown in places like Louisiana and the Glyptothek and all of these like big prestigious art museums. There's something really powerful about seeing somebody who looks like you, somebody who has a similar story to you, who's struggled with the same things as you, seeing them be put into these revered positions. I think it's really powerful. I think if you can't see anyone like you in a particular space, then it's very difficult to imagine yourself being able to get there. And I'm not saying that I'm ever going to be shown at Louisiana or anything like that, but it's just, I connect so deeply with their stories. I find them so much more interesting than, I don't know, straight white man stories. And it's just something that really, really kind of deeply resonates with me for those reasons. Representation matters, you know? And, you know, there is still a long way to go, even just with showing women artists who are, you know, a vast percentage of the population. And that's not even when covering like artists of colour or queer artists or trans artists or like anything like that. But at least showing women is a step in the right direction. And things have died down again a bit now, which is a real shame. But every now and again we have a fantastic lady artist showing. Marisol is a great example of that, and I'm really excited to see her work. So we are about to head out, and of course I will take you along for the ride.
Art history is full of these stories of misattribution, and you know, the 19th century especially was a time when you know, art dealers would literally scratch out a woman artist's name and replace it with a male because it could sell for more money, or it could sell full stop. And I think, again, like I said with Artemisia, it's this kind of lack of attention that has been placed on these artists, and so we don't know their full story, or how many people have heard of Selma Burke, you know, as opposed to John Sinek. I'm sure in America people might have witnessed the dime, or, you know, we could have immortalized these people in so much better way.
Before I go, I just want to say a huge thank you to the friends of the house who tip me every month to help make sure that my videos, my newsletter, all of the good stuff that you love, all of the art that I make keeps happening. If you are interested in supporting my work, if you're enjoying my videos, if you're getting something out of them, then please do consider becoming a friend of the house yourself. And even if you don't, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already, like, leave me a comment, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!